Well, let's now get started with a presentation by Freethought Society founder and president, Margaret Downey. Her serious speech is humorously entitled, Throwing the Book at Them, Shelving Nontheist Literature in Prison Libraries. Welcome, Margaret.
Thanks, Dave. 13 years ago, Dr. Richard Dawkins donated his book, The God Delusion, to every prison library operating in the United States of America. The connection to Dawkins's generosity and the Freethought Society's project to shelve freethought literature in prison libraries will soon become clear. First, however, it's important to give you a little backstory as it allows me to acknowledge the efforts of a very special person. Dawkins donated his book to prison libraries across the country thanks to the urging of Leslie Zucker. When Leslie was a student at Reed College, she joined the Reed Secular Student Alliance, which is an on-campus group organized by students interested in the separation of religion and government. Her membership in the Alliance inspired her to think about various community projects she could organize. In 2005, Leslie started the Freethought Books Project to push back against religious influences that prevail in prisons. Leslie noticed that rejected and old used books filled donation boxes on campus. She thought that students could do something much better. Leslie's Freethought Books Project also included a prisoner pen pal program. The prisoners she communicated with were recipients of books donated by her, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, Daniel Dennett, Prometheus Books, and the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science. Now, during the time she ran the program, Leslie said that it was, and I quote, very rewarding to interact with prisoners, showing them the joys of free thinking and secular humanism. Leslie's here with us today, and I'm going to have her speak at the question answer portion and in the social hour so you can meet her. Her project was recognized by the National Office of the Secular Student Alliance, and she won the Secular Student Alliance's Best Service Project Award in 2006. The Freethought Books Project history was highlighted in early 2014 by the Religious News Service, and then that led to coverage in USA Today, as well as the Washington Post. Leslie's efforts were also featured in the Freedom from Religion Foundation's newspaper, the Freethought Today. When Leslie moved on to other interests, she gave all the books she collected to the Center for Inquiry. Unfortunately, the Center for Inquiry abandoned the donation attempts when their boxes were being returned by the prisons for being in violation of the many restrictions and requirements put in place by prison authorities. Sending literature to prisoners and requesting the placement of free thought literature in a prison library is difficult, to say the least. Rules and donation methods actually vary from prison to prison. The Freethought Society learned just how difficult the task would be as we made our way through over 100 letters we received from prisoners. All the letters we received refer to finding the Freethought Society information in the back of the pages of the God Delusion. Now, after much discussion, the Freethought Society devised a way to handle the letters without directly communicating with prisoners one-on-one in the future. When we receive a letter, it is reviewed and categorized. Some letters are forwarded to legal advisors as inmates describe possible civil rights violations. Some letters were given to humanist counselors located in the area of a facility housing the prisoner who might ask for such assistance. The connection only occurs when there happens to be a humanist counselor located nearby the facility in question. Most of the letters, however, became part of the Freethought Society's Freethought Literature Prison Library Placement Program. Each letter is answered, and we send along any extra newsletters we might have on hand. The cover letter states that we do not communicate one-on-one with prisoners. We explain that there must be 3 or more letters from prisoners being housed in one facility. And this is in order for us to write to the prison chaplain or to the department that handles donations to the prison library. In part, the Freethought Society letter states, should the Freethought Society hear from 3 or more inmates from the facility you are writing from, be assured that we will research the location library system to see if it's possible to shelve Freethought, Humanist, secular Judaism, skeptic, and non-theist literature. We want such materials accessible to anyone interested in those worldviews. And the letter goes on with nice personal words that we think bring a little bit of joy to a prisoner. The greater the number of requests for Freethought literature from one facility, the higher the chances are that we get Freethought materials shelved. And the prison facility that has 3 or more prisoners requesting literature, we then research that prison to learn the exact rules for donations. We ask for a proper address to send boxes and/or flat envelopes. And we ask about possible mailing restrictions, as well as what the acceptance requirements might be. For instance, stick-on labels cannot be used. All envelopes must be hand-printed or ink stamped. The postage must be secured at the post office without the use of a stamp. The envelope or box postage must be hand-stamped. These restrictions are in place to prevent illegal substances from being attached to the back side of a label or a stamp. The prisoner must provide prison officials with the name and address of the party writing to them. Only pre-authorized, pre-registered correspondence is allowed. The Freethought address must appear in full as the sender in order to get it to its destination, either to a prisoner or to the official in charge of shelving prison library literature. We always try to locate a name and contact information of the person who would review our request, look at our prisoner request letters, and agree to shelve the materials. The Freethought Society donates quarterly newsletters and books that we happen to have in stock. We also notify other national groups that have agreed to participate in our Freethought Literature Prison Library Placement Program. We ask them to send magazines or books directly to the prison that we have researched. The key to making all this work is finding the proper contact at the prison and for donors to fully understand donation guidelines. Once in place, the Freethought Literature Prison Library Placement Program provides a wide variety of educational literature that focuses on philosophically diversified and no-God worldview materials. We have 3 exceptions to this prisoner communication guideline that I just explained. 2 prisoners who wrote to us indicated that they share everything they receive from us, and they often hold informal discussions about freedom of thought, humanism, and philosophy. We therefore send literature directly to Jeff in Milan, Michigan, and Chris in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. We know the literature is doing good, even though it's not occupying a space in the actual prison library. I'm going to read a few excerpts from some of the letters we've received so you'll understand why we were compelled to start our Freethought literature prison library placement program and why we seek to keep it active. These excerpts will also give you insight as to how difficult it is to be an incarcerated freethinker. This is from Mark in Connecticut. Being an atheist is not a popular position in prison. People lean very heavily on religion here. Prison is a very lonely place, more so when you have no one to relate to and no one to learn from or share ideas. Larry in Florida says, here in prison, 90% of the people, staff included, read the Bible daily. They have Bible study groups, prayer groups, and preach their faith. When I question their faith or bring up the contradictions in their holy books, they call me Antichrist. And Shelley in Georgia wrote to say, I'm the only atheist in a female prison population. Or, shall I correctly say, that I am the only one here not afraid to admit that I am a non-believer. Because of this, I'm isolated. I'm forced to lock down in my cell 3 days a week due to church being held in the common area. The writers of these letters are very thankful to receive a Freethought Society envelope packed with past newsletters or extra books that we have in our collection. Everything we send is under scrutiny, and prison literature guidelines bring me to the subject of my biggest objection to the prison library system. Prison restrictions clearly state that no literature sent to a prisoner includes acts of violence, rape, incest, crimes, gang activity, and killing. Yet, every prison library has a large stack of Bibles to loan. Some prisons even hand out Bibles to newly arriving prisoners. The Bible is filled with stories of violence, rape, tribalism, incest, pillaging, and killing. Now, how can such a book be revered, honored, condoned, and provided to a prisoner? The legal system should offer much better moral guidance, and if the recovery of a prisoner is going to even work, the Bible simply does not offer that good moral guidance, nor does it offer a reality-based worldview. But why is this so-called holy book exempt from the rules and regulations of what is considered appropriate prison literature? What is needed most is a dose of a one and only life reality, information about a possible, truth-filled, philosophical home for a prisoner, and educational literature about the natural world. In my opinion, all holy books and Bibles that advocate and describe, and I'll repeat this list one more time for dramatic effect, violence, rape, incest, pillaging, tribalism, and killing should be banned from prison libraries. They are confusing at best and immoral at worst. I would like to see an effort to ban the distribution of holy books to inmates based on the prison's own subject matter restrictions. They should not be accepting literature that advocates immoral and unethical behaviors. As we wait for such a ban, we should try to fill the shelves of prison libraries with books that promote humanism, reason, reality, and science. Our goal should be to offer a counter to delusions, fantasies, and irrational belief systems. Statistics show that only 1% of prison populations are atheists, but I contend that we must reach the other 99% with literature that can cause a person to appreciate their one and only life, live a worthwhile legacy, and find unethical behaviors abhorrent as well as self-destructive. How better to change the hearts and minds of incarcerated individuals than to explain the realities of life in the written form, readily available on the shelves of their particular facility. Now, I'll quickly share some of the wonderful thank you letters we've received over the years. From Leland in Ohio. Being free from delusions and having understandings of why stars shine, why the sky is blue, and how we evolved gives me great peace and humility. From Niles in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. While here in state prison, I was recently saved, but not in the everyday sense of the word. I was saved from religion with the help of a book by Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion. Even though I'm locked up, finding atheism felt like the greatest freedom I've ever had. I would like to help others like me who had religion crammed down their throats from birth. And this from Timothy in Smithville, Pennsylvania. I have made the freedom leap from the fear of a mystical God. I feel a sense of relief at age 54, knowing that I can believe in science instead of fantasy. So, dear attendees, in conclusion, I will now provide some action ideas for those interested in helping inmates obtain access to humanist, freethought, and non-theist literature. First, please contact me if you want to donate books or other materials. As I previously stated, we are in touch with 3 facilities that are willing to shelve literature. And I can tell you how to mail those items, and I can provide a donation letter to you acknowledging your tax-deductible participation. If you want to purge your library, donating to our cooperative prisons is a great way to receive a tax exemption and do a big favor to prisoners who are desperate for reality-based information. Second, you can earmark a donation to the Freethought Society's Freethought Literature Prison Program so that we can continue to send literature to needy inmates and prison libraries. And third, I'm looking for volunteers to help me process the many requests we receive for literature, connections, and legal help. We would welcome any assistance. So let's help incarcerated, philosophically curious people by literally throwing the book at them and shelve free thought materials in as many prison libraries as possible. Thanks for your attention, and thanks for attending this 4th session of the day-long conference, Life Behind Bars, Compassion and Reform. I think I've allowed for a few minutes and for us to meet Leslie Zucker. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Margaret. From the chat, are there different regulations between the states?
Yes, and actually within the state, they vary. This is why it's such a huge project for us. I'm going to show you. This is just one binder. We have 3 of these, and they all list the letters, the original letters, and then our research, and we've divided it up state by state, prison by prison. And we keep a list of all the people we've talked to, what the rules are. And it was a lot of research, so I'm willing to share that with any group who's interested in picking up this project in their own hometown.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Everyone say hello to Leslie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie Zucker. I'm currently at the Columbia Graduate School of Journalism in New York City. And from about 2005, when I started at Reed College, and then through 2010, I started the Free Thought Books Project, and we delivered atheist, humanist, and other free thinking works to prisons, libraries, and inmates across the country. For that, I got, as as Margaret said, the 2006 Secular Student Alliance Best Service Project Award and the 2010 American Atheist Founders Scholarship.
That's wonderful. Well, if there's no other questions, I thought it would be interesting. I got 2 letters just the other day from prisoners. So I'm going to open one and just, this will be a good way to let you know how we get these letters and what they say. This one says, do you have any books on escaping religion? I can receive up to 5 books, hard or soft. And thank you. And then he lists his name and his correctional institution. So this would generate definitely a response, a gift of whatever I can send him. And then we would research the prison where this letter came from. Now let's open the second one. It's a good one. So this says, you guys send me the Freethought Society newsletter. I was recently transferred. Can you please switch it to my new address? And do you have any good books on atheism? So, all of these are so heartfelt and sweet, and I always try to do my best to accommodate. Just the other day, I got this letter, which says, Jesus could never love me. It's from the Prison Fellowship International, and it's asking for a donation to help get Bibles to prisoners. So I know where I'm going to put this. Are there any other questions?
Margaret, are there specific types of books you are looking for?
Yes. Any Christopher Hitchens book, any Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, the books that were really popular in the early 2000s. Dan Barker's books, they're always a pleasure to read and send to the prisoners. So insightful and so encouraging to the philosophy of non-theism.
Yeah, I think also Ali Rizvi's book on the atheist ex-Muslim, fabulous book, would be a great one also to donate to the prisons.
A couple of my favorites that deconverted me were Why I'm Not a Christian by Bertrand Russell and American Infidel by Orvin Larson. I love that book, and I love Robert G. Ingersoll.
Yeah, well, Bertrand Russell is the person that crawled into my head and read my mind when he wrote that book, Why I'm Not a Christian.
Yeah, that convinced me. I only originally read it to see the other perspective, and it totally changed my life and my worldview.
There's a question, is God Delusion allowed? Well, yes, it was actually sent by Richard Dawkins to every prison in the United States, thanks to Leslie. So yes, that's why we hear from all these prisoners, is because we are listed in the book. I often joke, people say, oh, have you read the God Delusion? And I say, well, I'm on page 46. And they think, oh, you're just reading up to that point? I said, no, my name is on page 46. So I get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I actually have had material rejected for content. It was a book about the Bible and female sexuality, and there was a picture. I didn't flip through all of the pages, and there was a picture that depicted a drawing of the female body, and it was said that it could, for somebody who's a pedophile, that it could serve as material for them. I was kind of shocked by the whole thing, because it wasn't like it was child pornography itself, or even what anybody would consider pornographic material.
Mm-hmm. I also want to pick up on what one of the speakers talked about, prisoners' art. And I was excited to hear that they mentioned that particular subject because I've received some wonderful art from prisoners. In fact, I got a charcoal drawing of Thomas Paine that to this day, I give copies of it as thank you gifts for donations over $100. It is so beautiful, and it was done by a prisoner.
I'd love to see that. That sounds amazing.
Because you're so special, Leslie, I'm going to send you one.
Okay, I'll give you my address offline.
All right.
Margaret, it's fabulous. The work that you've done for decades, supporting so many causes, and the work specifically that you're doing with the prison libraries in support of the incarcerated. My hat's off to you. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.